I'm delighted to share with you a few insights on these economic and legal points for a new paradigm. It's really, we call it a bloody battle, and with no sure happy end in sight. So first we thought the financial crisis in 2007 and 2009 would be a wake-up call to change the economic paradigm from an exclusive drive for economic growth with, as we hear it often in China, 经济发展 as a pervasive mantra to a more sustainable model towards the common good. So previously, the one-sided focus on economic growth must give way to a more comprehensive view on growth, which would mitigate the ecological disaster and abuse of natural resources. And a major point I want to make is that educational institutions may play a key role in this ongoing struggle. And especially now, I think the current crisis reflected our failure to overcome the COVID-19 pandemic and also the racist unrest, Black Lives Matters, that has erupted all over the world, underscores the urgency of addressing this widening gap between the rich and the poor and the persistence of outdated prejudices. I think it's fair to claim many people felt frustrated after the financial crisis. Things did not seem to change much. So now I think COVID-19 is one in a lifetime chance, maybe for a wake up. And I want to stress what a number of speakers have stressed, the need for institutional change. Including, for instance, the Advocatus Diaboli advocated by Bruno Frey. So 3 points I make to stress the importance of the development of ethics in higher education in shaping new generations. In general, higher education should include opportunities to experience and analyze social deprivation that will enable participation through service learning with all actors of society to achieve a more just society. We remember Cardinal Hollerich taking students to Thailand, and for me it was clearly in India where my students felt most kind of challenged to do something. And based on their discovery of the principles of dignity of each person, which is central for developing the cultures of solidarity, mutual respect, and also entrepreneurial drive and subsidiarity. Here as a first, I put it the humanistic track, critical thinking about values. Values are shaped through different religious and secular wisdom traditions, which inevitably tend to fall into ruins and require renewal and reconstruction. I think you are familiar with this observation of Eric Zürcher, a renowned sinologist who was talking about the ruin on Confucianism, une ruine monumentale. So we need to establish a convincing link between a scientific exploration of wisdom traditions with case studies exploring the complex implications of critical understanding at all levels of educational programming. So this year, Dennis, Parissa Hagirian, and I will publish a book on 40 case studies. I think it's like the lifeblood of teaching. So we must integrate critical thinking about values with the rest of the curriculum, particularly in education for business and the professions. No wonder that critical thinking is often dismissed as a useless soft skill without any relevance in the marketplace. So humanistic track risk being dismissed as a fig leaf covering business as usual. The second track, as we are thinking to get networks to have a broad impact on society, is how now, also remembering all these important inputs, can we implement ESG goals. One key element in a new economic paradigm through innovative educational programming should be to shape professional codes of ethics and ethical branding designed to impact investment practices. I think this is well implemented at Furen University and in a Buddhist university in Taipei. Professional ethics, Chuanye Lunli Shui. This would focus on social, governmental and environmental responsibilities, as well as establish curbs on runaway corporate executive salaries through shareholder rights to determine corporate board of directors. I remember the discussion with also speakers already 30 years ago. We call it the liberal Chicago boys agreeing with me that there is no sense with this runaway corporate astronomic executive salaries. But maybe we have to wait until COVID-19 that this is really perceived as an absolute intolerable scandal. Educational programs should make explicit reference to wisdom traditions in order to promote awareness that the purpose of the economy must be oriented to the benefit of larger society and especially of the most disadvantaged. So cornerstone is therefore the prominence of Confucian entrepreneurs. How also will Asia, will China have an impact with its values? So we very much value the social analysis in a comprehensive way and exploring the consequence of individual and institutional decisions and challenges professionals, students and professors to conduct field work in destitute contexts in order to get a better grasp about the decisive factors to change a situation for the better. So one promising model of such an approach is the attempt to develop Confucian entrepreneurship as a standard of business leadership globally. There are now conferences on Confucian entrepreneurs gathering thousands of entrepreneurs in China. And I think this is really a chance to implement these Confucian values. So this term, Confucian entrepreneur, Rushang, is by no means restricted to an Asian context. It refers to a business person who is typically not shaped by a specific religious creed, but is committed to stick to a certain set of basic human values of honesty, integrity, truthfulness, and reliability, especially within a very competitive and corrupt context. So, and in this concept, the Junzi is the ideal of moral leadership. So Professor Ip already mentioned these key values of Xiao, filial piety, Shu, reciprocity, Ren, benevolence, rightnesses, Yi, and ritual propriety, Li. All this can be dismissed as just empty rhetoric of this Junzi if this is really not implemented. So no need to quote all these wonderful, inspiring quotes from the Lunyu. We just maybe quote the first ones. The master said of Zichan that he had 4 of the characteristics of a superior man. In his conduct of himself, he was humble. In serving his superiors, he was respectful. In nourishing the people, he was kind. In ordering the people, he was just. So my most mature students in China admitted, look, I knew them all by heart, but I admit I did not actually really understand it. So to give them a chance really to implement it, I think that is the really goal when we talk about Junzi and the little person, the Xiao Ren. So the master said, the mind of the superior is conversant with righteousness. The mind of the mean is conversant with gain. So here we learn together to discern the difference between the Junzi and Xiaoren, between fake and genuine claims of Confucian entrepreneurship and moral leadership. So my key point I want to drive home is such values must be central to any educational program supportive of this economic paradigm. And so I wrap it up with the third legal track is to create professional legal networks which monitor the implementation of the regulatory reform packages and offer professional assistance in creating jobs for those groups typically left behind. That's what I especially appreciate in the presentation of Dr. Bernard Lee, that we have a special eye of those left behind. And I think one effective way, even more than a harsh punishment, would be that shaming must be the most effective deterrent against corrupt behavior. So the main goal of the legal track is to explore the legal institutional framework and its related economic incentives, as Professor Leonardo Beghetti will explain in a moment, and what also Bruno Frey mentioned with George Enderle, to ensure that it is consistent with the imperatives of social justice and the common good. So thank you very much, and really for all your support on this, what I call always remains a bloody battle with an uncertain outcome. Thank you very much indeed.